What's good, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Land Grant Podcast Network's I-80 Football Show. As always, I'm your host, Jordan, but not as always, I'm your national champion host, Jordan, and I'm here with my co-host, Dante. How you doing, Dante?
I didn't know you was on the team.
Oh, yeah. You know?
No.
Yeah.
How much they pay you?
Huh?
How much they pay you? How much you getting that NIL?
I'm doing it for free. I'm doing it for free. They didn't have to pay me nothing. Yeah, they didn't have to pay me nothing.
Oh my god, this man.
Yep.
Oh man, that's funny. I'm good. 17-time NBA champion here. Like,
hey, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? 30 and a 17-time NBA champion. That's
hey
crazy.
man,
The,
it's crazy.
the stats are nuts. The stats are nuts. You know what I'm saying? Although to be fair,
don't even have your careers by their 30th
yeah.
birthday.
To be fair, you can only claim the ones in your lifetime. You got to do some subtracting.
My fault. You right. Okay, so
what is it, like 6? Because Kobe got 4, right?
He has 5.
5. Yeah, he has 5.
So yeah, 6-time NBA champion.
Because Kobe started in the early 2000s, and then which one did they win in the 90s? Oh no, they won one after. They didn't. They there was a gap.
Yeah, if they won one, it was probably because only the 90s was dominated by Jordan, so it was the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm not alive in the 80s.
So your run started with Kobe, and then even though you don't really claim it, the LeBron one, yeah. So 6-time NBA champ, you know what I'm saying? I'm a 3-time college football national champion. You know what I'm saying?
2-time Super Bowl champ.
You better look.
Shoot, I forgot how many Nick Saban got with Alabama, but that many time national champ.
The numbers is there. Yeah. I don't know why you wouldn't claim. I'm claiming it. what are we talking about? You know how much.
I just did not expect you to really say. I just didn't expect you to be like, "Oh, this isn't actually normal." National champion host, like,
yeah.
Oh, boy, that's funny.
That was
funny.
I've been living ever since. I'm not even kidding. And like, I don't know how much this comes through on the podcast, especially because we be yelling on the podcast sometimes. But like, I'm for the most part like a pretty kind of like me and you. I feel like we're both kind of pretty like relaxed. I'm not even someone that like typically like yells at like video games and stuff like that. I was like running around my house yelling. I'm
sure. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's been 10 years, so I'm sure.
Yeah, it's funny though because so I was talking to set this up because I don't know if I said this on the last podcast or not, but I told people and that I was gonna watch the game in my office by myself with the lights off.
Wait a minute. Yeah, no, go ahead. I can still hear you. The audio is coming through the wrong thing. I just realized that. I was like, I can hear you, but it's coming through the wrong thing.
I'm weak.
Yeah, okay, there it is. There. Okay.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. But no, I was telling people all week that I was like, I'm gonna watch the game in the room in the office with the lights off by myself with a drink. And that's exactly what I did. No lights, no nothing. But it's funny because I've talked about her a little bit on here, but like my wife from Columbus, but not in the sports. And like when you're in Ohio, you can't help but follow the Buckeyes, right? Because it's just kind of like everywhere, especially in Columbus. Like she could tell you just about any time if they want to lose just by like the attitudes of people outside. Just like she could go to Target and tell you if the Buckeyes won or lost, whether she's paying attention or not. Obviously, here, a little bit further removed, and her best friend doesn't care at all. And like the middle of the game, I came out to make myself a drink, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm having a good time." And they're like, "Yeah, we know you're yelling so much. We had to look at the score. We was trying to figure out why you was yelling. It's like we was trying to figure out if it was a good yell or not." So yeah, I was yelling so loud through the walls that they literally were like keeping track of the game. And I'm sure they just Googled it, but it's also funny because like if I want to keep track of the game, I got ESPN and Yahoo Sports. So they're like Googling the game scores. None of them, pulling up the ESPN app.
They
But
didn't
yeah, I
even
was
honestly, they didn't have to, because it's funny if they're because I know both Elise, your wife has an iPhone. You swipe to the left, it'll have all the news that's happening during that day. So like that top story would have been that. It would have been the score.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
I literally never pay attention to that.
Yeah, I've actually there's been like times where my I'm doing like trying to scroll and do something else, and I accidentally go to the left, and like during the national, like especially like Alabama was playing, or last year when it was Michigan and stuff like that, I saw the score as I was watching the score, and I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I saw some people that I swear weren't into football watching the game. Kind of pissed me off, but that's personal. That's personal.
Look,
That's all. But I saw something. I'm like, oh wow, we've been watching Ohio State all year, and now all of a sudden you like football. Like that's weird. But
no, it is funny. I did see a bunch of like people like posting and things like that, and I'm just like, all you saw was national, but that's what you expect, right? You see a national champion, they're like, all right,
it's just like
now we go.
Yeah, but like 4 or 5 weeks ago, it's like y'all still talking about sports ball, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, one thing, it was like real personal to me, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of annoying, but it is. Like it is what it is. But
yeah. Not me. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into Ohio State football. Week in and week out. Week in and week out.
How tense was your butthole in the fourth?
So it wasn't.
Okay.
I never felt like we were going to lose.
That's fair. I didn't
like
think
I can't say it made me happy, right?
I just thought the game was going to go into overtime for real.
Oh no, it's one of those things where it's just like, because like, so I've been saying this on the podcast all year, that like I really believed in the defense, and so even when they got close, like even for me, even if the offense didn't score again, I didn't think that they would score. I thought the defense would get a stop, and I think some of the like accumulation of the season and some of the offense kind of like taking the foot off the gas affected them and things. But I think in the fourth quarter, 2 minutes left, especially because it was 8. Right, you need the touchdown and the 2-point conversion, and like I don't do the statistics things all the time, but like statistically, like especially against this defense, I didn't see Notre Dame getting 3 2-point conversions in a row, so I never really.
It was on a roll, so
yeah, but I mean, right, and I get it, but like for me, I wasn't worried. Like I wasn't worried, especially because it just like. It was working, but when you ratchet the pressure up in this defense, I mean, I believed that they were going to do it. But then, and also like it didn't happen. So like, shout out to him. But I was just at the same time, and maybe it's irrational, but I'm like, if he has to keep throwing, he's throwing us one. And he didn't. And like you said, Will Howard, you thought Will Howard was going to throw one. He didn't either. So like, shout out to the quarterback for not throwing one. But like, I also like,
I didn't think so this game. I don't think if I did say it in the podcast, then correct me. But I don't think I actually thought he would this game at all.
I thought
this. I might have. I wouldn't be surprised.
But not in like Ohio State's going to lose. Just like when we were talking, maybe what you said was if like when we were trying to figure out how Notre Dame would win, it was like because Will could give you one.
Right, and it ended up you guys did turn the ball over. It just wasn't what I thought it would be if I did think a turnover was going to happen. It was interesting because you're right. If he did have to keep, I don't know if he would have gave y'all one because again. They were kind of on a roll. It was the defense for Notre Dame is where I was like, you know what? If they got to really make a stop. I don't know if they can.
And that's the other thing. And then they couldn't.
That's why I was like, the offense seemed to get where like they seem to figure out the game. Like even because there are times, there's especially on those 2 scoring drives, it's 3rd and 8. I'm like, well, that's the end of that drive, and then just first down. You're like. I guess they figured out something enough to get scores and stuff. And they knew not to go into the red zone. They just literally was like, just get the touchdown.
Honestly, and like I'm not even trying to be like disrespectful when I say this because I think a lot of it is like culture, so they aren't a lot of they deserve a lot with that. I don't think they learned anything. I think that kid just put the team on his back. That wide
No, that's what
receiver,
I'm saying. No,
I like
I don't
he
know if
like I
the
liked him, but like especially because he did it against Penn State, and I was like, all right, man, Jaden Greyhouse, who is this kid? And then literally like they had nothing going on, and
yeah, really nothing.
he was just like, you know what, I got it,
Even
I
I
got it,
mean, and that's what
and
I'm saying.
teach
And
like
even the quarterback that like he found him. Like each time he was
yeah,
open, he found him when he needed to. And I was like, I
yeah,
don't know if it was
that kid.
learned or anything, but they figured out something.
I think he just
They got high right around the
yeah,
right time.
I don't know. I mean, it was a little late. It was a little,
I don't know. They
it was
had
like
plenty
that.
of time.
It was a
Honestly,
little,
if the
well, no, because
defense doesn't give up that stupid third and 11. Yeah, it was third and 11, and you give up 40 some yards on a pass play.
yeah, but so okay, so like, but even if that doesn't happen, there's less than 3 minutes left. You have 2 timeouts, so it's gonna go down to the 2-minute warning.
Yeah,
So if you're lucky, you get one timeout, 2 minutes. I don't believe they're scoring in that
I
situation.
and which is fair to say, but the last two drives, 2 minutes to score. At Notre Dame, they scored in like a little. The first one to get to 15 was a little over 2 minutes, and I think it was like 2 minutes 40 something seconds, and the one to get to 23 was like 2 minutes. Like they did it in time. That's why I was like, even with a little bit, maybe 3 minutes on the clock, maybe 250, that was enough time for them as from what previously happened on their last two drives gave shown. Like you're like it's hard. It's a difficult thing to say, like, hindsight's 2020 and whatever. But I will say those last two
So
drives were a little bit over 2 minutes.
the last drive was 2 minutes. The two drives before that were 5 minutes. So the touchdown drive,
To get to 15.
yeah, was 5 minutes, and
Okay.
then the next drive where they
Was
got
like
the missed field goal.
240, right?
Well, so
Oh,
that there was a drive in
that missed
between.
field goal. Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
yeah. I
five
forgot about
minutes,
that one. I forgot
and
all
then
about that because he
their
kicked it so ugly.
yeah, and then their last drive was
That's
2
like
minutes.
2 minutes, and
Like
that's why I was
the
like,
very last one, yeah, it was 2 minutes.
yeah. That was at least from that. It showed like they could do it. I don't. We'll never know. Of course, the game's over now. We'll never know. But it seemed interesting. It was an interesting game. It was exciting for at least the last quarter. The first quarter, I missed the first quarter. I thought the game. I
Yeah, that's
had
because the first quarter lasted 10 minutes. Like,
well, it's not even just that. Like, I don't know what I was doing, but then I noticed it was 8:30, and I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm missing the
yeah,
game." And I turned the game on. It was 7-7 second quarter, and I was like, "Well, I missed the whole quarter."
yeah, that was crazy. I
Mhm.
mean, their first drive was literally 18 plays, 10 minutes. Like,
Sheesh.
yeah, it was 9 minutes 45 seconds, and all it was like 3, 4, 5 yard runs. The honestly,
That's what you want to do, right? At least
yeah,
to have some continuity and some rhythm
uh,
going with your offense.
yeah, and the crazy thing about it is, and so like you can call me delusional, but I have the text messages to prove that this I was not worried about this. Um, I wasn't worried after the drive because I'm like, you can't beat a team with 9-minute drives. Like, and it, like, first of all, was not luck,
Depends on
but
the team.
Ohio State was pissing me off because every time they got into like 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 11 or whatever, they would let them get like 8 yards. And it'd be
Yeah,
like 4th and 2. And so they went for it. And so I'm just like, and
I
it's
mean,
just like, if you just
even
need
in
to
that
get into it,
last
like you need to not let that happen. And I mean,
even
for
even in
the
that
rest
last,
of the time, they didn't let
especially
it happen. So.
that last drive, I think there was a 3 different times where it was like 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, third and something, and they got the first down on the play. And most of the time, I'm like, well, they're not going to. You really haven't gotten it all game besides probably the first drive, which I didn't see. So it was like there's each time I'm like, well, Notre Dame's definitely about to get off the field, and you get the first down. And I was like, what is happening? And then especially I was on Twitter and stuff, and sports fans, I know it's your team. I understand. But you guys have to admit when your team is legit doing a penalty. And I I saw so many Ohio State fans like that's not defensive holding. I'm like, it clearly is. Like he is grabbing, and man is trying to make a break, and you're still pulling on. As a person who has watched Porter Jr. do it for the Steelers for the past 2 years and did it for Penn State, you're pulling on the jersey, and it's clear as day, and it's right in front of a ref. So that was also helping. Your defense was helping them stay on the field too, but with goofy penalties.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. It's like, so the first drive, there was 2 defensive penalties, and then that's the one that they score. So
To
like
get
when
to
you're asking
15
me,
or
yeah,
the touchdown.
to get to 15.
Okay.
So like when you ask me did I think they're going to score? No, because I didn't expect the defense to have 2 big penalties and all these other kind of things. It's just like when you look at the entire game, they stopped them all the time. So when you get to the fourth quarter, and it's like for them to win, not only does your defense has to continue to let them score, your offense has to also not score, and that just was unlikely to me.
Yeah, it was. It was looking. I get what you're saying. It was looking towards the other way because I thought they was gonna get to 15 and that was gonna be end of it. And then he fumbled, and even I thought I was like, oh no, his knee was down. And they showed that I was like,
That was
wow,
close.
like
It was
that's
close.
but it was like, man, what a
but
great play. That was it.
yeah.
It wasn't as close as you're trying to make it seem. His knee was up. His knee was up. His knee had a lot of room under it, and that ball was moving.
It may not be as close as I'm making it seem, but it's not as far as you're making it seem.
I'm not saying that, but you could see the clear grass air knee, like you could see it, and the ball was moving. It was a great play. Like he really made a great play there. And it's one of those things where it's like I've seen it happen so many times where it's like go down.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just need to
because you really don't need it. You don't. You have the lead. You really don't need it.
Just go down.
Like sometimes you're doing too much. Go down. And it looked like he was trying to go down, and he came in with the punch just in time.
I mean, it was
a great play. Yeah, it was a great play.
But that's the other thing for me too, right? It's like on that drive, it was 6 plays, 54 yards. Ohio State was about to score. So like, yes, the fumble happened, but it wasn't like Notre Dame scored and then forced Ohio State to punt and then scored, and you're like, oh, their defense is playing well.
No, I think it was they scored 15, made them punt, missed the field goal.
Ohio State didn't punt at all.
Oh, really? You sure?
Ohio State, no. Yeah, I'm looking at the drive chart. I mean, I remember it, but also Ohio State punted once. And it was after they missed the field goal. That's the only.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say. Okay, that's what I was going to say. Is that they got the score, got the ball back, and then they punted. Oh, so the fumble. Okay, I'm remembering it now because I remember them punting, but it was right after the missed field goal. One of the ugliest field goals I've ever seen.
I can't believe you called that. And I in theory, I understand, right? Like I get it. Like the way he explained it is he's like, it's 4th and 9. So like if it was like 4th and 5, I would probably go for it. Mm-hmm. But the thing, I think we talked about this before, is it's just like their kicker had been great in the playoffs, but he was one of the worst kickers in the country all year. And so it's just kind of those things that people say with sports all the time, is it like it typically averages out. Like I was listening to a podcast, and these are some of these things that you don't say publicly before the game, right? Like, but you hear these little stories that come out and things like that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that came out is that Brian Hartline was talking to someone in the media. They were just having, I don't think it was an interview, they're just having a conversation, and he was basically just talking about Ohio State under Ryan Day, and he's like, these sort of things average out, like because Ohio State has been knocking on the door so much, and it's little things here, like they made it to, I mean, it's how you view little things, because I think some of those little things are Ryan Day's fault. And he should still stand on those. But in general, it's kind of like the theory that like it averages out. And so with Notre Dame, it's like it averaged out. I mean, and in most parts, it averaged in your favor, because he still only missed 1 or 2 kicks the entire playoff. But did you really think like you got overconfident in your kicker that had missed short kicks all throughout the season. That Notre Dame was the only team out of 130 plus that made less than 50% of their field goals. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I think we talked about it before. It's just like, there's a chance that they miss a kick or two because he's been nails for 3 games, but for the 12 before that, he was awful.
I guess you had momentum and you had a good amount of momentum. Your kicker has been good the whole playoffs. Go get points. I understand, and like I get like it's legit. Just let's go get points. Honestly, the kick is crazy because if just slightly, if you don't kick it that much to the left, you're good. Like
it was just an awful kick. But I think the other thing, I know this is easy to say in hindsight, and it's hard to think about in the moment. But I also don't think coaches, which is funny because sometimes sports can be like superstitious. I don't think coaches take enough like momentum into enough effect, right? And like belief in your players. I don't think they're scoring 4th and 9 against Ohio State. I don't. Just straight up, I don't. But what I will say is it is better, especially morale for your players, for you to be like, I believe in you. We're being aggressive. We're going for this. Than you to miss a field goal.
And the reason why I agree with
Ryan Day a lot is that the missed field goal, it changes the momentum. It feels demoralizing, especially if your players didn't agree with the decision to kick. And that's happened to Ryan Day a lot. Yeah. It's happened against Michigan. It happened against these big games.
I will say they didn't let it really truly affect them because then they turned around after getting the fumble and got a touchdown after that. So it's like I get what you're saying. And I agree with that too because I think they should have. The fact that you were able to get 2-point conversions and like you were able to get one and they were really good plays, especially that last one to get to 23. That was a really creative play. I like it when it happened too because I was like when it started off I was like, oh, that's not gonna work. He's wide open in the back. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like so they might have been able to come up with something creative to get them the touchdown in that moment, to at least get the first down, because you said 4th and 9, so they had time to get first down. So
he's getting sacked, in my opinion. I mean,
possibly, you never know. Like it's possible.
Clearly the coach didn't believe. Yeah. Clearly the coach didn't believe.
I think he just went, you know what? Let's get some points and let's get off the field. Because think about it that way: you get the field goal. You get that fumble, maybe still happens, possibly not, and then you go down again and score. Now it's a different game.
Yeah, but even the thing is, even with the field goal, you still needed 2 touchdowns.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
and so right, like because you don't know what's going to happen afterwards. They kicked that field goal with 14 minutes left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame had 1 drive after that. So even if you kick the field goal and you make it, the problem is you just can't guarantee like the belief, especially because your defense at this point had already given up 31. I don't understand the thought of there's 15 minutes left. I'm going to get the ball 2 more times. And not only am I going to get the ball 2 more times, I'm going to score touchdowns both times.
Well, yeah, but there's nothing wrong with having that belief. You should believe that you could do that regardless. Because again, my thing is that
it's scary.
It's nerve-wracking, but you should believe you can do it.
Then why wouldn't you? And again, like I'm not killing him for this. I get the logic that he explained, but at the same time, if you believe your defense is going to stop this team, and they up until this point, the only time they stopped them was a fumble. This is Ohio State.
I mean, even the drive after the touchdown drive after the fumble, it looked like they were about to get off the field. I think they truly, that last play, it was just, I think sometimes as a coach, you pick the wrong play. Even as a defensive coach, I think they picked the wrong formation, the wrong defensive play in that regard. Because all game long, you really weren't doing that one-on-one type of battle with what's number 4's name? I'm drawing
Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith. You weren't really doing that all game. He's gonna get his thing. He's gonna get his. It's just what great players do. You're gonna get yours, but they really wasn't doing that. And then the one moment at 3rd and 11, you don't even bring pressure. That's weird. Like you've been
Yeah.
able to get to him,
No,
especially in the fourth.
they did bring pressure. They
Did
brought 6.
they?
That's why they
Oh,
were man covered. They brought 6.
I mean, even then, I
But
don't know. You
yeah,
still should have
so
one
but
over the top on that one.
yeah, I agree. But my thing is, it's just like so. Like to your point, as you're saying, right? At this point, things are going their way. Like it's looking good. You're saying that they have momentum, fine, but that momentum wasn't on the defense because at this point, because again, even the fumble, right? Like you can't predict turnovers. Even
No,
the fumble, Ohio State went on a 6-play, 54-yard drive. So you got the fumble, but like you hadn't stopped them. That happened in the red zone. You missed the field goal. My thing is, it's 14 minutes left. If you're saying, yes, I believe in my offense because we just scored, because we just did this 12-play, 70-yard drive, we got down here, your momentum is with your offense. At this point, your defense has made one play in 3.5 quarters. They've made one play in 3.5 quarters.
and sometimes that's all you need, really.
But yeah,
But no,
but I don't
no,
understand the
yeah.
belief that your defense is going to get 2 stops
You
over
just have to
believing that
believe.
more. Yeah, but not more than the fact that you can get 9 yards. Like that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I think
Like
it's
I'm
just
not saying you
mostly
can't
like you
believe like
just
when you're saying if I'm looking at my offense, which you could argue at this point is rolling because your last drive was 10 plays, 75 yards, and the current drive that you're on right now is 12 plays, 70 yards. I think I have more momentum. I have more belief that my offense can get 9
fair,
yards than
fair.
my defense can get 2 stops when they haven't got a stop all game.
And that's fair. And
And
that's
that's the
fair.
confusing. Like
That's
I
fair.
get his logic, but that's the part where I'm just
I
like,
think it's just
I don't
like
think you're understanding the momentum and really the gravity of the situation because your offense is currently hot. Like you said, they had the 2. Not only did they get the 2 touchdowns, they got the 2-point conversion. Jaden Greathouse is at this point is basically unguardable. So it's just like I don't and literally in the drive that you missed, right? There were multiple times where it was 3rd and 10. They did QB run, picked up 8-9 yards, and then was and obviously it's 4th down, so maybe you don't do the QB run, but like you had that momentum, and so the thought of like I'm gonna trust my shaky field goal kicker, and then also believe that my defense is going to get 2 stops, and I'm gonna score 2 more times within 14 minutes. I just think that was
I
unlikely.
and that's fair. I just know like I've seen a lot where as a former defensive player myself and I'm a fan of the Steelers and stuff, I've seen where your where defense has been struggling and when your offense gets hot, your defense gets inspired. So like that probably could be also a thought process in the way like while it's hard, it's I get what you're saying, like you probably should more than likely probably go for it because your offense is hot. I do know that team once you're like if your offense out of nowhere starts to score and they start to get hot, the defense can become inspired. And I've seen it
Yeah.
happen before. So
I
that
don't
yeah.
I don't think it was egregious. I just think it was a mistake.
Mhm.
Like it's not like there are some like really really bad calls that happen all throughout the season. I mean, James Franklin does it all the time, and that's why he gets some of these things. Even though I think he's maybe hopefully starting to change some of that narrative. I don't think it was egregious. I think it is possible to defend it. I also think it was a mistake in the back call.
Mm.
And also because of momentum, because of these things, and also just because the fact it's like if you don't get it, let's say you go for it and you pick up 8 yards. Now they have the ball at the 1. You talk about your defense. If you want to set your defense up for success,
Fair,
unless
fair.
it's an incomplete pass, you get the 7 yards. They get the ball at the 2. So it's just for me, and he's a defensive coach, so I get wanting to believe in your defense and things like that. I just think, like I said, I don't think it was egregious. I think it's defensible. I don't think he should be killed for it, but I think it's a mistake. And I think if he was honest with himself, he wouldn't do that again. And I think if he got to this point again next year, he wouldn't make that call.
And I see them doing it again. I can see them coming back here next year. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um they're a much better team than I expected, honestly. And what's his name that coached them before? He's the LSU coach. I
Brian
think he got
Kelly.
is he still at LSU or did he?
Yeah. For
Okay.
now.
I thought he got fired. I thought I read somewhere he got fired.
If he doesn't, I think you read that they want him fired.
Okay. That's
yeah.
fair.
If he doesn't have a good year this year, I think he's done.
Okay. I thought I read that he got fired. Okay. So yeah. Man, all that time at Notre Dame, and like you really never even produced anything like this. At least as long as I have been paying attention and noticed that y'all are at school. Like I ain't seen nothing like this. I've never seen Notre Dame's player, even though like again they lost. I've never seen Notre Dame's players be so behind their coach.
Yeah. So hold that thought because I want to talk about the coaches. Let's go to break, and then when we come back, we'll get into the coaches. So we're gonna take our quick ad break right here. We'll be back, and we are going to get into the coaches and the belief that they put into their players, because I think that's a major storyline of this game. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the I-80 Football Show on Land Grant Podcast Network, where we are talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes, the 2024. Side note, I've realized that people say it differently.
What do you mean by
like
that?
I've always been you're a champion in the year that the season lived in, but other people do it based on the year the game is in. So is Ohio State the 2024 national champs? Are they the 2025 national champs? I've seen both.
How I say it, I don't know. I guess I don't care, but how I say it is I say both years. Because the season
24-25, yeah, that's a basketball thing. Which
maybe.
I mean, that's how you like. That's how they do it in basketball.
I was about to say I do it for NFL too. So
but I think that's a basketball thing because basketball like very clearly starts in 1 year, but then it goes all the way to it's. To be fair, it's the right way to do it. If we're being honest, but I think basketball is the only one that like always does 23, 24, 24, 25.
I think hockey does it too. But
hockey and basketball have the same season.
Same lane starts at the same time, ends around the same time. Yeah.
So the 24-25.
Because I was about to say, I think baseball is the only one where you can be like 2025 national champion because the whole season happens in that 1 year.
Baseball, soccer, both soccer, men's and women's. Oh wait, yeah, men's and women's. What's the other one? The WNBA.
Oh yeah, because that season happens all in one. Like, oh my god, yeah. What the fuck? Well, ruined my pants. Just trying to put on some hand sanitizer. What the? Anyway,
so before we went on the break, we were talking about the coaches. I have a point that I agree with Ryan Day. But I want to let you finish. You're talking about the belief that Notre
Freeman.
Dame's players had in Freeman.
Yeah, I think it's like even a testament to I just forgot his name again. Ryan Kelly, right? Brian Kelly. I think it's more because like I don't know, it's just
nobody likes Brian Kelly.
True, but you could tell like people have no problem in like even at in the same set like playing for Freeman and it's just like the whole you could see it's just a different feel from Notre Dame than it has been when Brian Kelly was there, and I think it's on him. I think again this should be an eye-opening for a lot of schools and maybe even NFL teams. If hiring Mike Tomlin wasn't enough to prove, like there's nothing wrong with not even just Mike Tomlin, Shanahan, the guy at the Rams now, Sean McVay, all them. It's okay to look at somebody young and might not have been not do this before because it's just a fresh look. It's something fresh. These kids, they're closer to the kids' ages, so they can understand them more. Like it's the same reason why we understood why Nick Saban. I also don't think it's going to work in North Carolina because of how old.
No, it's not.
what's the name is. So
Belichick is not.
Belichick should have just stayed as an NFL coach. I don't know why
But
he did this.
because he wasn't going to get hired as an NFL coach.
Oh, he would have got hired at Dallas.
No, he wouldn't have.
I think so.
No, he wouldn't have. I'm telling you, I've listened, I've read a lot of the things. He was not getting hired. That's why he took the job. Like he basically they did not, because the thing is, not only with his age, Belichick is a style of coaching that people don't want right now. Like if you've noticed, there's not that many Belichick style where your head coach is your general manager and has full control of the building and that kind of stuff.
And that's why
everyone knew that that's what he wanted, and nobody wanted to give it to him. But you can do that in college.
That's the one thing Dallas freaking needs. There's still one type of coaching Dallas needs.
But that dude is never gonna hire Belichick because they'd be going toe to toe.
I'm starting to think the NFL should get in there
involved and get them out.
Because you did it with Washington. I think you should do it with there too. At least make him give up general manager role somehow, some way.
Yeah, and not give it to his son, but they can't. They're not going to do that. Yeah. He has too much power and respect.
It's also funny because they always like the one thing about it, and I know we're getting off task, but I'm gonna get back to it. But they always talk about how like Dallas hasn't won a championship in like the past 30 years. San Fran, Chicago, and somebody else much longer. Oh, Jets, much longer. Much longer. Not San Fran's 1 year, but everybody else 85 for the Bears and I think 67 for the Jets.
Yeah. But the thing is, those franchises get talked about like they suck. The Cowboys never do. They're always America's team.
49ers don't. 49ers no.
But the difference with the 49ers is they've made the Super Bowl. They've been like legitimately been good. They've been on the precipice. So
loser is a loser to me. That's how I feel. A loser is a loser to me. I don't care if you made it.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying like there's no way you could view the 49ers in the same way that you view the Cowboys.
The only reason why I could say is because they've had the same amount of talent in my eyes. It's just the one thing, because I'll tell you this much. If Jerry Jones wasn't getting in the way, we probably would have seen the Cowboys in at least 2 Super Bowls, and they probably would have lost them. But we probably would have seen them in at least 2 in the past 20 years. At least
he's
this
clearly
century.
The problem. He's clearly the problem.
This century, I think we would have seen them in 2 Super Bowls. Like, at least when they first got Dak and Zeke, I think they could have made the Super Bowl during that time. I just, with a different coach. But you wanted that certain type of coach, and that's what got in the way. So inevitably, you got in the way of your team. But yeah, back to what I was saying is that like he is able to relate to Freeman. Talking about Freeman, he's able to relate to his players in a way that made them look. Because even though they were down 31-7, they didn't look dejected. They never really looked dejected.
No, I mean, and that is a huge credit to him and his culture, where even though, in my opinion, it was a losing battle, because like I said, for what needs to happen, like to score twice in 14 minutes when you've scored, you know what I mean? It's just yeah, and the fact that you need the offense, but that's what I'm saying. You can tell
in your player's face, and even in his face, it's just like, yeah, this almost seems impossible, but anything is possible.
Exactly, and that is a major credit to him. And
for the opposite, they're like last year or 2 years ago, you could see on Ohio State face players during those times where they're struggling, like even the Michigan game, you're like, yeah, you can see it. They kind of in their faces, you're like, yeah, they're phoning it in now that you can tell that it's out of reach, even though it's not fully out of reach.
And I think that's a good transition to Ryan Day. One of the things that he said afterwards is he said, I couldn't understand why we weren't able to beat Georgia and why we weren't able to win some of these games. He's like, but now I get it. Now I understand the level of resilience and the level of toughness that you need to do these things. He's like, I didn't understand why the team couldn't do it. And so this learning lesson that he's had in the last 56 days, I think it is, and things like that, is outside of the fact, right, national champion takes a lot of pressure off of him and things like that. I think this is going to make him much better because, as you're saying, right, like, I think you could argue in certain places, right, that Ryan Day is a better coach than Marcus Freeman in certain areas. But the one, like, up until this year, Ryan Day's team have never fought like Marcus Freeman's team fought. And so when you add that, and then you give Marcus Freeman, who's only been a coach for 3 years, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, and he picks up those things that makes him a better coach, because you should get better, right, as you get older and more experienced, and you keep the culture and the toughness and those things. He's gonna be back, right? Like, he's gonna be back. Like, Ryan Day,
I think they're gonna be back next year for real.
but didn't have that toughness, and so that toughness and that kind of resiliency and some of those things helped lead to losing some of those big games where and it's even crazy because Marcus Freeman's first 2 years he lost games. This year he lost games with Notre Dame, with Northern Illinois, but there's something about him, his resiliency and the trust in his program and things like that.
It's truly like you know what? It's just the next game now. All right,
and I think,
forget it, like an elephant. Is it elephant? No,
water off an elephant's back or something like that. Yeah,
something like that, or like just a memory of one. It's just like, you know what? Let's go.
Yeah, yep.
Take your lessons from Neil and keep it moving. We're on to the next game.
And I think it's interesting too that this year, and I don't know that it's always going to be this way, but this year, the two most resilient programs are the ones that made it, right?
At least the most resilient looking on the field this season, yes.
And so it's just, I think that is credit to both coaches. I want to give credit to Ryan Day.
I would probably say the third most resilient is Oregon. Because again, even in the first Ohio State game, while it was so close, they found a way to pull it out. So I would say that Oregon, especially when they played Washington and they didn't play USC. I don't know, but you're right. Yeah.
So yeah, I want to give credit to Ryan Day too, because, like, you know, like, there's a lot of kind of, and I know I've said this for like last episode and as well, but there's a lot of kind of talk now about people needing to apologize to Ryan Day and all of these sort of things, and I still think that's bullshit. But what I will say is you have to respect. I would say, if anything, his level. Like, for example, right? So there's a national media journalist who, on his podcast, and he wrote an article, he said, I never thought Ohio State was going to fire him. I thought that Ryan Day would just go find another job, that he would just get tired of dealing with it. And his co-host was like, well, after everything that you've said, because after it happened, right, the report comes out that they had to have 24-hour security at the house and that there was death threats and all of these things. After his co-host is like, oh, well, I mean, he still might. And the guy's like, no. It's like, no. It's like, one thing that we've learned about Ryan Day is that he's a fighter and that he's a super competitor and that he was never going to let this job get him down. They did interviews with his family. They did with his brother, with his father-in-law. And basically they said after the Michigan loss and after that meeting with the players, they just said he had this look in his eyes where he said, like, basically he's like, I'm going to win myself out of this. Like, instead of being resigned or being sad and things like that. And he has thrown to his right, he has thrown some little things at the fans, right? They did the Woody against the world instead of the Ohio against the world occasionally because they felt like the fans were against him. They've mentioned things, but at the same time, he's always stuck to that it's a privilege to be in this job. It's a privilege to have these fans and the expectations are the expectations. And so I think he deserves credit for that, especially because he could have very easily, right, I told you so. He could have turned it against the fans and said, oh, y'all didn't believe in me and all these kind of things. And
it would have been ridiculous for him to do such a thing.
I agree.
Because you earned the criticism that you were getting. Death threats, no. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely not. That's crazy.
I would never, but the criticism was earned. That was
Yes.
earned. You were coaching scared. You did look like you had teams, players that just didn't really care about the game or care that much regardless. So that criticism was warranted. In my eyes, the fans don't owe him an apology. The
No.
national championship was an apology from
To
him to
Thank
the
you. It
fans.
was. It was. Literally,
Mhm.
I saw people tweeting like, "I accept Ryan Day's apology for losing to Michigan." Like that.
Like
Like that is.
that's what that really is. Because
And so
again,
I
you
want to
can't
give.
it comes with there's certain coaching gigs throughout all of sports that come with higher expectations and of a rabid fan base. You have
Yes.
to be tough to coach in Philly. You have
Yes.
to be tough to coach in New York. You
I mean,
got to be tough to coach in LA.
Philly is the right example, right? That
Mhm.
coach can barely handle Philly, and when his fans get, he's literally seen videos of him yelling at fans and arguing with fans and saying snide remarks in the media. He can't like,
And
but
he's had and it's crazy because he has like a 70% winning percentage. You were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You have a chance to make it this year, and fans still don't know if they want him there or not because of
Mhm,
his decision making. But a lot of his um I guess they would say irrational decision making or his sporadic is why they're there in the first place, why they're such a good team in the first place, because he's willing to take risks. Something you kept complaining about with Ryan Day is that he
mhm.
wasn't willing to take risks. So,
I mean,
you know,
I said it and I'll say it again. And in the last two games are perfect for me with Ryan Day. That 4th and 2 against Texas, where they run the QB power and Will Howard gets 18 yards, I've seen him kick that field goal.
mhm,
I've seen him kick that field goal. The problem is every time he's kicked that field goal, because this is a real criticism of his program, he doesn't have a kicker who can make it.
mhm.
If he would have kicked that field goal, they were missing. I know you can say two things can be true and this, that, and that. I know for a fact, I feel in my spirit, if they kicked that field goal, they gave up on that 4th and 2 against Texas when that game was tight and they kicked that field goal, they're missing it.
Mm.
And that is a level of aggression, of level of belief in your players that Ryan Day had not shown for a while. He's been in that situation against Georgia. He's been in that situation against Michigan, and they've missed. So, and then right, the 3rd and
The Georgia
11
thing is you
against.
had no choice to kick that field goal.
No, I'm not talking about that one. There was
Uh,
ones earlier in the game.
oh, okay. 'Cause I was about to say
And at the
you had
same
no
time,
choice. Time was running down
the
and
one with
field goal.
Georgia, he settled for that with his play calls before.
Fair.
Like he set up that kick instead
Mhm,
of one more aggressive play call, even if it gets you just 7 yards. Like he basically started running. So like same situation, but like and so this 3rd and 11, right? Like and he basically comes out and he says, "Oh, that shot to Jeremiah, I wanted to call it earlier, but the coaches were in my ear about running out the clock." So even that, right? They run the QB on 1st and 2nd down, and at that point, you're like, "Oh man, like they're just." Like
I even
they're not
tweeted
going to
it.
be
I was like,
aggressive.
what's going on?" I legit
Are
was
you
like, "What?"
are you really trying to set up like what do
I didn't
like
know what was going on, but I tweeted, I was like, "What are we doing?" I was like, "Why are
yeah,
y'all doing these plays?" I was like, "But I'm not a coach. Who knows?"
yeah.
Like,
But
so
at the same time, right? Like it worked because they call it and I don't like to do the thing where you make people geniuses and you assume that all of the decisions line up for this, although I do know that coaches sequence things as well. But it worked because I thought it, you thought it, Notre Dame, everyone thought that they're just like, oh, they trust their defense, they want to run out the time and make Notre Dame call timeouts. So what did Notre Dame do on 3rd down? They said you're going to run the ball. So they sent 6,
even
and
then,
they played
my
man
thing is
coverage, and they had one player on Jeremiah Smith.
yeah,
And even that one player was very far inside,
yeah.
so he
I
could
that's what
help with the run.
I was gonna say that he was definitely positioned wrong because it's not like Jeremiah Smith hit him with anything nasty or anything. He kind of pretty much just ran straight up the field and then faded. I was like,
Yeah. Well, so I agree and disagree just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's one of those
it
like
wasn't
subtle. That's one.
that
That's
nasty.
no. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's. I think it. But I think you have to identify what he did, especially because it's not something you expect from a 19-year-old. He didn't just run straight. He literally ran directly at the defender with inside leverage, forced him to flip his hips, and then faded away from him. Whereas a lot of times when you run that route, if you run straight, like just straight, that guy can close on you because you're running straight, he's running at an angle. He ran directly at that dude, forced him to turn, faded out where the dude could not turn, because you can't turn again. It's not the video game. And that's why there was, and maybe if you run straight, there's 3 yards of space and it's still there, but the route that he ran and the little nuances in that, it was 10 yards of space. Literally, I mean,
and my thing is, even with that, the when he ran straight at him, the defender, I think the defender was just still way too far in regardless. Like, I think he could have ran that. Like, you're right, he did. It was a subtle fade, because I said it, he faded out. But like, he could have ran straight and there still would have been 5-yard gap because of how he decided to play defense, how he decided to set himself up and play defense on the route. He gave up immediately. He gave up immediately. Like,
I think he did that because, one, he wanted to be able to help the run because they thought that they were going to run, and 2, they assumed that he was going to run like a slant or something like that, and he had super inside leverage. And
it was just so weird because my thing is just like, if you wanting to help the run, I don't know. Those two, that drive, it was what, 2 yards, a loss, and then a loss. Like, it was like he got a couple yards, and I think they lost some yards. So even then, if they run the ball, y'all were tackling from that moment, at least from those last 2 drives, you were tackling pretty well. So it was just, I think it was just poor defense on the cornerback's fault. Great route. Don't get me wrong. It was a great route. You're right about the nuance and the subtlety. I just think it was truly poor defense on the corner.
And that's why you don't play man on man against Jeremiah Smith, because you don't have the
if
players.
You are a legit play man on man. It wasn't really legit man. It was zone. It was like a zone type of man. It was weird because he ran. He was already running back. Like, he was running back. His hips were turned pretty quickly and was running back. And he just let him have all that space. Because they showed the play several, so many times. You could tell the dude literally just kind of did this until he noticed him fading. He just did this and did that. I was like, he's literally just running straight, bro. He's just running straight.
Don't play man against Jeremiah Smith. But that call, that aggressiveness, is not something that Ryan Day was doing even 6 weeks ago. And so, I mean, literally, it's not what he's doing, because he didn't do it against Michigan. So, like, that's the thing. It's
that's
like,
what I'm saying. Like,
that
playoffs, though, he was doing stuff like that, and that's where I got confused on it. I don't have nothing wrong with a blitz at that moment in time. Go ahead, make Will Howard a little nervous, put somebody in his face, because you weren't getting to him to get sacks, but you were getting in his face. So, like, I have no problem with the blitz. They were getting back there. They had a few sacks. They had a few tackles for loss and stuff like that. I have no problem with the blitz. I have a problem with it being man blitz. It could have been a zone blitz instead of it being man.
And if it is a man blitz, you need to bring 5 instead of 6, and you need to double Jeremiah Smith.
Somebody has to be over the top. Somebody has to be over the top. Because my thing is just like, even if it didn't matter what play they ran, I knew it was going to be a pass. It's 3rd and 11. They're trying to get the first down. I knew it was going to be a pass, and I knew exactly who the ball was going to. That's why I don't know why it was legit 1-on-1.
Because I think they thought that they were going to run, which is why I think that.
Oh, that's crazy to me. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought that, because Ryan Day hasn't really coached like that all playoffs. He didn't coach like that all playoffs. They didn't play like that all playoffs. They didn't even play like that in the game. He was aggressive during the game. He was aggressive in most of the game. So, and again, it's 3rd and 11. They've been aggressive really most of the game, even on 3rd and longs. they're going to be aggressive here. Even with even though they had the lead, they have to be aggressive, because if they're not, y'all have had momentum on offense that there's a chance y'all could get this score. So as the opposite team, or as a team that you have momentum on offense, you should know that this team also had momentum on offense. They're not going to just give you the ball back with ease.
And not to keep bringing up the same thing, because I feel like we've talked about, this entire podcast, we've mainly talked about this from Notre Dame's point of view, but that's why I don't like the field goal. And
okay,
it's the same thing.
Fair.
Like, they're
That's
not going
fair.
to give it to you with ease. So
That's fair.
But okay, so we've obviously talked about Ohio State, but I feel like we've talked about most of this from Notre Dame's side. I think that,
I have been I get, like, I've been talking from the same sides, but I've been talking about Ohio State because, again, like I said, they were aggressive all game. They were aggressive the entire game. They've been aggressive all playoffs, but they were aggressive all game. They were aggressive on defense, which you knew was going to happen. They've been aggressive on defense all season. If we're being honest,
that is one of the things. That's one of the things that I've personally been trying to bring up all the time on this podcast, is that I think that people were misrepresenting Ohio State's defense, right? And, like, for example, like when Georgia was going through their run, all you could talk about is their defense. This defense, especially in the playoffs, but really, in my opinion, all season, has been to that level, if not better. And all they talk about is the offense. And then even when the offense has a bad day, it's just like things where it's just like, oh, this Ohio State, including the Notre Dame game, this Ohio State defense, well, I guess maybe the Notre Dame one sort of counts because they didn't go for it on fourth down. But it's still, a field goal is still kind of a goal line stand. But sort of, kind of. But I'll just say it this way, including the Notre Dame
not
game.
Normally counted that way.
Yeah, I'll just say that's why. No, I'm going to say it differently. Including the Notre Dame game, which is because of a missed kick. This defense had 7 or 8 instances this season where they were in a goal-to-go situation and didn't allow points. And that's if you want to take out the Notre Dame one because it's a missed kick, fine. It's still 7 without that. But even still, they go on this long drive and you put them in a position which it's either go for it on 4th and 9 or kick a field goal from your 9-yard line. You know what I mean? Like, that is still credit to the defense. This defense has been in 8 situations where 1st and goal, which means they're inside the 10 and in some of those, it's more than 4 plays, because a couple everyone talks about his 4 plays. Texas was like 6 because they had 2 pass interferences then they had the 4 stops. And okay, pass interference, but if they catch it, it's
those pass interference, and those are bad pass interference. So it was blatant. It was legit blatant and bad. I'm like, what are you doing?
Brother, I couldn't tell you.
I will say, and that's why even it was confusing to me that they gave up 2 2-point conversions. Now they happened so fast that I missed the first one. I missed when they got 15. The touchdown happened so fast I missed it, and I missed the 2-point conversion. But that second one,
I don't remember what that play was either.
Yeah, but when they got to 23, I was like, I like that. Yeah, I like that. I was like, because the play was, the thing is that because you could tell he wasn't trying to run. That was a pass from all. As soon as he got it, he's passing the ball. Yeah. He's literally running like this. He's trying to get the ball right so he can throw it. Like, I was like, that's a pass. It's a pass from the jump, and he was wide open in between 2 people, just sitting right there. And there was in that end zone, those 2 people that he's in between, they're like 5-7 yards away from him. Yeah, he was naked, and I was like, legit, how? I was like, how? Somebody forgot to say something or something.
Yeah, it was routes on the air. But and the thing that we talked about is, right, like, how does the defense How do you score on this defense? And again, I want to give credit to Jaden Greathouse because he scored twice, and he scored in ways that Ohio State's defense literally there are 2 instances where Ohio State's defense gave up 30-yard touchdowns. The first Oregon game and those 2 to Jaden Greathouse. Ohio State played 16 games, and those are the only times they gave long touchdowns. So he deserves a lot of credit in that. But
route running was beautiful. He ran an in out to get them a first down on like 3rd and 9 or something.
Nasty.
It was beautiful nasty. Route.
That was nasty. Like he was naked. I mean, in that time,
I think the Ohio State he threw it in there. He forced it. Again, you got to give props to the quarterback too to have poise to go. Like he was throwing them in there because I think somebody on Will Howard had himself a game running all over the place. I don't even know how many he finished with, but there was moments and times where it's just like
56, I think it was.
Yeah, it looked like he was they just didn't know what to do. I think I'm going to say this, and this is for both schools and all schools. Y'all need to tackle more in practice.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you that one because this is the only game that Ohio State's missing tackles like that. Like
I'm just
even against Oregon, I think, and that's one of those things where I think it's kind of like the war of attrition.
It wasn't even about
Ohio State didn't miss tackles all year.
It wasn't. My thing is it's not even about
game.
It's not just. It's how those missed tackles were happening. It's how it's. I don't know why we think it makes sense to tackle 240-pound men up here. I don't get it.
Yeah,
and you're not really wrapping up while you do it, and that's why I said all schools. I saw it with Notre Dame, even on the that on the fumble play, he should have been tackled a long time ago. In that play, he should have been tackled a long time ago. They should have punted the ball, but they just.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, he made a good play before he fumbled, but he was making just the spinning, the juke to get out of there. It was. I'm saying it to all schools. I think we need to bring in some form of way. I know it's about safety and stuff like that, but somehow, some way, y'all gotta. Because there was it Ohio State? I think it was Ohio State player. I don't even know. I mean, a beautiful tackle. He was, you know what? I'm getting games mixed up. I apologize. I watched a lot of football over the weekend. I do apologize. That's a different game I'm talking about. So my fault, guys. It's my fault.
So to wrap this up, I do want to talk about Ohio State. I don't give a fuck about Notre Dame. I want to give Will Howard his props because there's a lot of hate that happened kind of with Will Howard and people saying like, Ohio State picked the wrong guy and they should have went and got this guy. I mean, people saying that they should have got Riley Leonard, who was at Notre Dame, saying they should have got Dylan Gabriel. All of the Kansas State players saying that, he got benched for a younger guy and he was never going to do it. And he was the guy that Ohio State needed in that moment, because as much as you talk about the resiliency and some of that sort of stuff, a lot of that came from him and his leadership as well. And when you hear his story of the fact that he's literally, I think, the all-time leader in touchdowns at Kansas State, but every single year he had to fight for his job because they brought in a transfer or a freshman. Like, they never said, you had a good season. You helped us beat TCU and you won the Big 12 or any of that kind of stuff. We're happy with you. And so he was what Ohio State needed in that moment. And I think the most underrated part about it is I'm not saying he's going to be a first round pick. I don't think that is necessarily true. But if you told me in 4 years he was an NFL starter, I'd believe you. Like, everyone,
it depends on the team.
It doesn't matter. I mean, there's 32. It doesn't matter the team. I'm just saying, if you said somehow in 4 years he's an NFL starter, I'd believe you. And the thing that they do this all the time. They did it with CJ Stroud. They did it with Justin Fields. They did it with Dwayne. They do this thing with Ohio State quarterbacks all the time where they see the talent and they say, you're not doing anything because anyone can throw to these wide receivers.
I do have a lot of talent there.
And they're missing the good throws. They're missing the throws in traffic. They're missing the throws that are in a place where only the wide receiver can catch it.
Mhm.
The Ohio State wide receivers make you right. But the thing about Ryan Day's offense is, and there's reasons that he doesn't go for certain quarterbacks, you have to be able to make tough throws. If you will not make a tough throw, you won't play, because Ryan Day's thing is we have the receivers. They will catch the ball. You just have to put it there. And sometimes that gets you bailed out when you make mistakes. But this entire season, Will Howard has won us games. Like, not every game, right? Because you don't always need that. But he has been the reason that we have won games. As much as he almost lost us the Penn State game, he also won us that game. And so I don't think people gave him credit because they say you have Jeremiah Smith, you have Emeka Egbuka, you have these players. But
and I think he had a uphill climb due to the Oregon blunder as well.
Yes. And so that's why I think it's important to give him that credit. And then in this game, he made one bad decision the entire game. That little wheel route to the running back shouldn't have did that.
Ooh, oh yeah. I mean, it was clear he was covered. I didn't understand why he threw that either.
But everything, I mean, the decision to run, the toughness, the picking up the first down, where he put the ball. I mean, and then it comes out, right? It comes out Ryan Day, because there's no point in telling these things in the season. It comes out and Ryan Day said, yeah, he's been here for a year, but when we gave him 3 plays. We ran an NFL offense. We gave him 3 plays and let him pick, right? That last play, that play had options, and it said, like, you can throw it, but you have to make sure they're in the right coverage. You have to make sure they're in the right things. Otherwise, you have to do this. And so the level of leadership that he provided, the level of the consistency, the throws that he was making, I mean, again, the toughness to not let Oregon, and I'm not going to put Michigan on him. He was concussed. I say that a million times. He was concussed. He should not have been playing in that game. They won't say it because it's illegal for them to say it, but they've said little things like, they've literally been like, yeah, all the games but Michigan where he was injured. He wasn't injured. He was concussed. You let him play with the concussion. That wasn't an injury. His head bounced off the turf.
A concussion is an injury. It is an injury.
All right.
It is. You ever been concussed, bro? It's an injury.
No. So I want to give him that credit. I want to give credit to Quinshon Judkins, who, I mean, again, we're talking about toughness, and I like to talk about the toughness because it's a thing with Ryan Day. How many times, this game and others, how many times have you seen Quinshon Judkins just bounce somebody's head off the turf, just run through tackle, just refuse to be tackled? And I think he set it's sort of like an emotional kind of standard for the team. And then he had the game of his life. He had 3 touchdowns. He had the 70-yard run. He had the touchdown catch, and he's not really a receiving back. He played amazing. Right. Like I mean, Caleb. So I think that there's a lot of things that are going to come out of this game. As Ryan Day keeps saying, there's a lot of stories, but ultimately, and this is going to just get the little bit of fan out. I think it's really great for the players because so many of these players in different ways hadn't lived up to the hype and or had faced a lot of adversity, right? Again, we said Will Howard had been benched multiple times. He comes here, uphill battle, right? He's trying to be a better quarterback. He's trying to get to the NFL. They said Quinshon Judkins was a locker room cancer at Ole Miss, and they were ready for him to go. The center, Seth McLaughlin, who got injured but won the Remington Award. The last thing people remember from him, and you'll remember this because you're a Bama fan, is the bad snaps that basically cost him that game, right?
He did. He had the bad snap. He got hurt.
Yeah, he was hurt. Yeah. He was hurt.
He was hurt in that game and then got really hurt right after.
Right. And then you have JT and Jack, who are 2 of the highest recruits in Ohio State history, who for 2.5 years hadn't really lived up to their hype. I mean, this is the first. I don't know. I don't know if Jack got to 10. He may be at like 9.5. I have to look at it. But JT got to 12.5 sacks. 4 years they've been there. They're supposed to be the next Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Chase Young, and in their 4th years, they had never had 10 sacks in a year, right? You have Donovan Jackson, who 5-star, who was underrated, right? Who was really, in my opinion, not the best guard, who kicks out to play tackle. And people are literally saying he may have become a first-round pick because he played 6 or 7 straight games without allowing a sack and barely any pressure. He played 4 games in the playoffs, and all 4 teams had NFL guys and didn't allow a single sack. He allowed 2 pressures all season, and he went from guard where he hadn't played tackle since high school. He goes out and he plays guard. Travion Henderson, I mean, the list goes on. Travion Henderson, who couldn't stay healthy, and he had this breakout. He broke the record for yards as a freshman, couldn't stay healthy for 2 years. And it's funny, but everyone hated on him because he was openly Christian, and so they felt like he didn't care, because sports fans don't want, when you lose to Michigan for the 4th time, sports fans don't want you to hear, they don't want to hear you say like God's plan. Right, like they want you to be upset, and if you say that, it feels like you don't care. Like the list goes on and on.
Kind of like I get it, because it's kind of like when you're going through something and they tell you like, "Well, no, God has a plan for you." It's like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like the list goes on and on of all of these players who came back, who was in the highest recruited class in Ohio State's history and didn't beat Michigan, didn't win the Big Ten, and almost had the chance to go to be remembered as one of the worst. Like, they would be remembered as one of the worst classes in Ohio State history, to come in with all of that hype, all of those 5 stars, 0 for 4 against Michigan, 0 for 4 in the Big Ten, and to never reach a national championship. And so I just think it's a great end for them. And, you know, there's still going to be some thoughts and regrets and things like that. And you can't, and we'll talk about it in the offseason, you can't erase the Michigan losses, and Ryan Day still has to do those. But for this team to
atone for.
Yeah, and so for this team and these players to kind of have that, I just think that's great for them. Obviously, it's great for me and Ohio State fans everywhere. But this is a class that I really liked as players, and so it's nice that they're going to get their chance to be remembered and not hated. Because, like, I mean, just and last thing I'll say is just think CJ Stroud is one of the best players in Ohio State history, and nobody cares because he never beat Michigan.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen with these players. That's not going to happen with these players because they won a national championship. And I'm not saying that that's not deserved. I'm just saying these players are going to have this national championship, and they're going to get to come back to Ohio State in 10 and 15 and 20 years and hang the banner. And someone is going to be carrying their 5-year-old to the game, and they're going to be introducing the 2024 national championship team. And there's a lot of things that went on with this team. And so go Bucks. I mean, shit. Ohio State's national champions. Shout out to Notre Dame. Shout out to Marcus Freeman. They'll, like you said, like I said, they'll definitely be back. Yeah, I really wish Marcus Freeman would take another job so I could root for him, because I can't root for Notre Dame. But he has made them as likable as they can be. He's a great guy. He's a great coach, and he's going to be back. I think that this is one, in my opinion, this is one of the. And I know this is not for everyone, because in the same breath, Ohio State and Notre Dame are 2 of the most hated brands in college football. So I know this is not a feel-good story for most, but if you don't actively hate one of those, to get this kind of story, to get these 2 teams, to get the resiliencies, to get these 2 young coaches, these 2 guys who were first-time head coaches at these major schools and have gone and made their mistakes publicly and that kind of stuff, to get that at the end, and then to get a game that looked like it was going to be a blowout, and to have Notre Dame fight and all of these kind of things. I mean, I just think it was
Notre Dame's a Christian school, correct?
Catholic, yeah.
Catholic school, that's what I meant. Yeah. I don't see Freeman leaving for a minute, because he's a very, very big on his religion, which I've read upon and seen his responses to how he answers questions and things like that. So I don't see him leaving that school for a minute.
No, I just hate it because he's an Ohio State Buckeye. I would love to root for him. I'll never root for Notre Dame, though. But do you have any
root for any school for real, bro?
Okay, but Ohio State's not going to be in the national championship every year, right? Like if he was at like, I don't know, if he was at like not them, I would be like, yeah.
What is not them? What is not them though?
I don't know.
Like, it's not like you go root on like if he took the LSU job, you're not rooting for them.
You can't root
if
for
he
LSU.
took if Alabama offered him a job and he took it, you're not rooting for them. No. He's not. You're not gonna root for any if he takes any other Big Ten schools job. You're not gonna root for them. You're really no, you're not. Like no.
Right, but there's a lot of other jobs. He can take North Carolina. What if he took Florida State? I don't hate Florida State. What if he took Florida State? It'd be cool.
You're not gonna root for Florida State either.
Okay, but here's
and
the
it's
thing.
not like you don't hate. Like, you might not hate Florida State, but I know you don't like them.
Right, but what I'm saying
if he took the Miami job, you're not rooting for them, and you know they need a good coach.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's a difference between rooting and just like if Marcus Freeman was at Florida State and got to the national championship and Ohio State was at home and he was playing anybody else, I'd be like, yeah, that's what I want to win. Like, you know, like I'm not
the only time I could only see that happening is if the opposing team is Michigan. That is the only way I see you doing that. Other than that, you're just gonna watch football to watch football.
He's a Buckeye. I'd root for him.
I don't believe you. Don't believe
you. Any final thoughts?
Besides calling you a liar? No, that's it. I only see you rooting for that man is if Ryan Day leaves and they go, all right, Freeman, come on in.
That's happening too. He's gonna be Ohio State head coach in 10 years.
That's the only thing. That's the only way cool. I see you rooting for him.
Ryan Day's gonna be a father or something. He's gonna be Ohio State's coach in 10 years. It's
Ryan Day's not a father.
No. He is.
I was like, does he not have kids? I thought
he looks like
kids. He looks like a breeder. I don't know.
He has kids, but like no football coach is really a father. Like, let's be honest. You're working 70-hour weeks, bro. Like you are a provider. Like Ryan is gonna like go be a grandpa or something. Like he's gonna freaking retire to New Hampshire or something, and then
the only way
Marcus Freeman is gonna be Ohio State's head coach.
He said Florida State. I remember how much you clowned him for 3 weeks. You clowned Florida State 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, but but Marcus Freeman wasn't the head coach.
My God! If he took what's the name? He took the Clemson job. If they finally was like, you know what, let's get rid of him. I'm telling you, there's no school you're going to.
I said Florida State.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
Yeah,
it's okay. You lied straight to our community, and it's crazy. You're Ryan High. You got a national champion, so I'm gonna let you lie, but I'm calling you a liar.
All right. Hey, it doesn't matter what you call me. Just call me a national champion. And with that, we thank y'all for listening. We will catch y'all next week. Go Bucks.